snail told. He was a baby. My mama told me, son, don't always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns. But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. I keep the whistle blowing. I hang my head and cry. What's up, guys? Alex Williamson in the house, in my house. Let me turn the music down a bit. How's the quality? I know it warned me about, hey Cecilia, good to see you. I warned you, or I was warned about the quality of this stream. So let me pause the Johnny Cash. And yeah, I was warned about the quality, so comment if there's any quality issues, if it's getting glitchy, if I'm looking like a Lego, like Minecraft dude or whatever. Sounds good, a little fuzzy. Hopefully it'll like buffer up and get better. We can reboot if we have to. But yeah, so basically I wanted to go over a couple things in this live stream. I know I did one not too long ago, but I wanted to go over what day of the week would work best for y'all on this live stream thing. So, you know, I've been working on projects and I'm not going to have a shortage of projects. You know, I'm going to set you guys up. You don't need to look at my mug, but let's have you look at my Pelvica chromis tenateus Nigerian reds. They've been mating, or at least posturing as though they were going to mate. The male is very flamboyant and beautiful right now, so I'll set you up there while we chat for a minute. So basically, I'm just wondering what the best day is for you guys, and then I'm in Pacific time zone out in Seattle, and I'm wondering what is the best day or time for you guys. So, by the way, in this tank, if you haven't seen it, we've got rocket killifish. I love those turquoise or crystal sapphire blue eyes with the tail with the purple and the orange and the yellow. But yeah, this male is about as decked out as he gets. He's got lime green on his tail, and like it looks like it's grass you're seeing through there, but it's actually electric green. And then there's blue on his tail, and there's purple on his tail. He's got red and purple on his. They're like stabilizer fins. The female, I think, is already in the cave, so hopefully they've been doing their little shimmy shake dance and circling each other around. Yeah, so right now it is 5:38 or whatever p.m. where I'm at. Where are you at, Cecilia? Just curious. So in any case, yeah, this tank, whenever Texas, I've got family down in Tejas. Hello to Tejas. My family's all in like Shreveport, Texarkana, down to Beaumont on the swampy border there in the backwoods. You know, they're moonshiners, or were, and now they're bona fide because there's a Walmart in town. So in any case, oh, the female is not in her cave. So here she is. She's all colored up nicely too. I like to just update this pair because a lot of people have written me that they're really pretty and that they want those critters. Yeah, I got family in Dallas and Grapevine too, more extended family. Friends out there too. It's beautiful country out in East Texas. I mean, West Texas too, but yeah. So you can't see them very well right now, but you can see the male's fins are colored up really nicely. The female, let's move some of this food out of the way. They never hang out in this corner. I don't know what they're doing. They've been eating off the filter, and I cleaned it, and then they didn't eat anything for a little bit, so I've let it clog up. It's not clogged. I mean, there's water's running fine, but I've let it suck up a bunch of dead leaves and algae. And you can see there's hair algae growing in here right now. And I haven't used any ferts on this tank at all. It's just the fish. So just the 2 Pelvica chromis and the 20 long. Rimless tanks, I love rimless tanks, man. If I had money, if I had a bunch of money, I'd have rimless tanks. I have a light setup that can go with a rimless tank, but I've ghetto rigged it, I suppose, with a piece of plastic and some tape, and then my automatic fish feeder on the other side. But I actually, yeah, so for no ferts, I'm pretty stoked on this. There is like a little, see, I don't like all this gear that I have to hide back here, but there is, you know, a lot of beneficial bacteria able to colonize in this tank. You could really overstock when you've got a sponge filter, a hang off the back filter that's tricked out with extra filter medium, and then media, and then also all this substrate that's nice and thick, and the plants and the rocks. Makes for a really stable ecosystem as far as ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, all that stuff. Once you get it dialed in, it's pretty good. Plus then I've got some dwarf water lettuce, and that really sucks out some of the extra ammonia and all that. But you can see that I actually, with no ferts, I still have Bucephalandra versus Anubias. What's my favorite? Ooh, that's tough. I like Anubias just because it has some character. I really like Crypts, which I feel like are kind of a mix between the two. They're like a perky Buse, but like, yeah, I don't know. In this tank I was counting today, I've got like 19 species alone in this tank of plant right now. And it's all kind of tailored right now. Like you can see my Pelvica chromis, the cribs, have been eating really random plants. And I did have CO2 on this tank like a month and a half ago, and just a little bit, like the lowest amount you could have pretty much. There's the, oh, they're doing their dance. Oh, they're so precious. I love it when they do that. Love is in the air. Let's put some Al Green on. But they're colored up really nicely right now. So you guys are kind of getting a treat if you haven't seen this before. These dwarf cichlids out of Cameroon are just awesome, even though they're called Nigerian reds. But you can see her belly there with the crimson. It colored up purple and pink so far. But then the male's belly starts to color whatever color she picks, he can color it. And literally the day of, they decide on the color, plus they've got those like startling blue eyes. And then they've got leopard print on their tail, and most do, but then the pattern around the leopard print, they actually can pick it so that it's the same color. So like he's got some orange coming off, and she's now doing like a golden and orange on the top of her fin. So they actually pair off so that in the wild, when they're hiding behind nooks and crannies and slow moving tropical streams, they can actually find one another and spot each other really well. Now, for the last 4 days, she had been in the coconut cave. She's got 2 other caves here for her to pick from, and she hadn't left, not even to feed. And the male would actually like bring her down the food, like he'd splash it down towards her from the top. When I'd put it like here, he'd like stir it up and then like get it to her, and she'd come out like yay far to eat it. And I thought for sure she had a clutch of eggs in there, but she didn't, it turned out. I flipped it over and all that's in there are snails. So she either had a clutch and snails got them again, or she didn't. But it's kind of a bummer. But I need to actually like do more water changes and get some of the ferts out of this tank. I just don't want to stress out these Pelvica chromis right now, because they're, and see, that's not, I don't like that itching motion that you just saw. That can be a sign of ick or something coming on, but nothing's new in this tank really, so I'm not too worried about it. But he's itching at his gill, it looks like, that guppy in the center there. So that's just a sign, folks, like especially with guppies, they get ick really easily. But if you see them scratching on things, yeah, Uluwasi shrimp, they look really beautiful. And dedicated tank, hold on, I'm reading these comments for later so people can know what I'm talking about. Really beautiful and dedicated tank, care for them, and a real moneymaker if you can breed them. Yeah, totally. I say go for it, man. It takes a little bit of trying. Right now, see, they're getting feisty, and so this is when usually things heat up. They start out as a peaceful, calm dance, and then it turns into like a game of cat and mouse, and she's smaller, so she just evaded him through these cracks, and then she'll come back around and go into the coconut, and then he'll follow her, and that's when they do the deed. But yeah, fish get random itches just like we do. They also just get ick a lot. Like mine haven't in this tank, but They have in my big tank because I play fish, musical fish, and swap fish a lot, trade them for new strains and things, or I'll keep like one pair of guppies and put the males together in a breeder box for a couple weeks, let them impregnate like my star team. Like all these females are different, but they all have been exposed to this blue endler. And this is a second generation that had been mated with the blue endler, so is this one. So, yeah, you can kind of get, oh, thanks for saying you like my tank. So this is one of tank. What are those two twin stem plants? So these are, I'm going to get crap from my fish club. These are brownie eye is the last part of the name. And they're called, oh, what's their common name? I can't remember. They were the plant of the month, and they were kind of like a little bit of an obscure one, but I don't know how they do. I don't know how they are. But yeah, David Hodge, welcome to Livestream. I'm really glad that you're on here. We were just talking about random stuff, but also we were talking about when we should do this live stream, what works for people, what day, what time, and then I'll try to cater around that. You know, I've kind of a crazy schedule with like when I have gigs or when like my wife and I are going to do stuff, but I want to try to keep it to like, you know, okay, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday or noon on Sunday or whatever, but have kind of like a reasonable time that it'll be, and I can let you know if it doesn't work out. But in this tank, I was just saying, it's kind of a jungle style tank. I've got 19 species. I don't remember the scientific name of this, but it's known as a brownie, and it's the last part of the name is BROWEI and maybe another I, brownie eye or brownie eye. And this is a mystery plant. If you know what it is, I'd like you to tell me. That'd be cool, because I don't know what it is. It might be some sort of like, it doesn't have a bulb, so I thought it was some sort of like lily or, you know, tiger lily or something growing, but no. So mystery, I got some mystery plants. This live streams are better for you. Realize they aren't the same. I always watch them back either way. Oh, well, that's sweet. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate your support, you guys. It means a lot. Sunday, I won't be around next time. Let's see. Hold on one sec. Comments, come back. Yeah, I think this is a good day and time. It's one of the few days that my wife and I get to spend time together, but I can probably spare an hour if we make a point of doing it at this time on this day. Because I know you guys are a community. I want you guys to talk to each other, help each other out. I'll try to help you out with what I know as I learn. I want to get back on track with history too. It's just I've gotten, thank you for the plant name. So Nymphoides, hydrophilia, or philia, Taiwan variant is what we're hearing for this plant here. Thank you very much. And that was, what is your name? Oh, 00 space 2. Thanks, dude, or dudette, whoever you are, non-binary. But yeah, so in this tank, I've set this tank up. It was the first tank that my wife and I set up, and the only tank that my wife and I set up, because then I went crazy and I got more tanks. But she likes this tank. I like this tank. I got these pretty fish. I paid way too much for them, but like I've fallen in love with their personality. They come to greet me when I feed them. They follow my fingers a lot of times. Let's see if set my Dr. Pepper down and see if they'll do it. I bet they'll come to the food if they see that. So let me try to do this one-handed, but see, he already knows what's coming. But they're just really cool. The sexual dimorphism is really nice in them, so you can tell who's who. She's doing her little dance. But come up, guys. I'll feed you in a sec if you come up to the water. Come up to the surface of the water, guys. Come on. Come up. Well, mating might be more important. But in any case, another thing I've noticed with these guys is they like food falling, so sometimes I'll feed them really slowly because they don't really eat off the bottom other than plants, and they like to strip the crowns of plants and the roots of plants, so pretty much like the important part. They have just demolished this sword. It was like a rosette sword, and it got chewed off in multiple spots by them, and then it got ripped out of there. And earlier today I did a short video about how they also have been, where is it? It's probably floating again. I planted it and it's probably floating again. One of my where is it? Hygrophila penintifada. I can never say this one. I'm sorry. I've screwed it up in every video, so I will continue to do so and just call it purple fern plant. So the purple fern plant, he hates. He just rips it out of the ground. Watch. Let me try to. Sorry about the shaking, but I'm gonna put this in the tank, and we'll see if he rips it out immediately. He doesn't like it. I haven't tried putting it over in here, so we'll see. But we'll hang tight for just a sec because I'm going to talk a little bit about something else in this tank before we go over to the Aquascape tank. This tank, I've kind of set it and forget it, and it is kind of plant storage. But once they have babies, I'll probably get the guppies and everyone out of there other than the killifish. He's starting to get territorial and chasing people away. And right now, you can see their colors just as best as you're probably ever going to see them. You probably can't see the purple and red next to each other on his back fin by the leopard print. But believe me, in person, it's even more intense than on film. And they just do this kind of dance. And she bends very surreally. I'm a surreal artist, pop artist fan, and it's just cool to watch. But yeah, he'll actually chase my hand if it's in there. But yeah, so I planted that plant and he keeps ripping it out. This will be the 9th time if he rips it out again. But hopefully they do their thing. They've moved all the sand from in front of the coconut elsewhere, and now it's just scattered around. So I feel like a jerk sitting here eating while eating tuna fish and watching. That's okay. Every fish keeper I know almost seems to eat fish. I actually don't eat a ton of fish. I eat salmon and fish that I catch myself, and that's about it. I guess fish and chips I'll eat once in a while. But what I wanted to tell you was, when you have plants like this up top, whether it's frog bit or whatever, and you know what's cool is I'm just seeing, and I couldn't see them because of these plants up top, but we actually have brand new fry now. So hopefully that's the Japanese male blue endlers, 3rd generation, crossed with this female who has his mating partner that she came from was a Dumbo-eared bluegrass Japanese. So I'm hoping in the future I've got a rainbow tail endler and then blue, green, and yellow Japanese bluegrass female here, and he's just a Japanese blue endler with yellow lyre or leer or sparrow, swallow, whatever you want to call them, tails that are yellow that you can't really see here. It's more of an iridescent thing. But I'm trying to get it so that then I can follow the maternal lines as well as the paternal lines, because it's so hard when you can't identify, like, what kind of fish are these? I don't know. They're just generic guppy females as far as I know. So this is my way of ELR, you're eating sushi at the same time. Man, you guys are some savages. But this is kind of my way of raising multiple strains of guppy in the tank at the same time. See, the guppies are also doing their mating rituals. Whenever one fish starts mating, like they all do. So there must be some pheromones or something that get released that cause that, because this male is also doing his thing. He's got Al Green playing on his little coconut radio down there. But what I was going to talk about are these plants, which are great for, like, let's refocus the light if we can't. Oh, you can't. It's live stream. Thanks, YouTube, for nothing. You can see them as they're moving, little teeny fry, and I don't know who had them. Let's see here. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that, I don't know which female. She may have had them. This one. even though she's still pretty full. That's my guess, because there's a lot of them. Also, I'm noticing a purple ram's horn snail. I don't know if anybody's seeing this right now, but totally purple coming out of its shell. I've never seen that, and I think I'm gonna actually grab that one and put it in the shrimp tank, just see if it passes on the trait, because that's kind of cool. All right, dropped it, error. Okay, we'll set it aside for a second. All right, yeah, so I haven't seen that. I don't know, have you guys seen purple ram's horns? I got red ram's horns, I've got blues, I've got all the clear and gray and those ones. But yeah, so when you got these small plants up top, which I've been trying to say a million times, sorry guys, you know, you can get algae and things growing if you got too much nutrient load or too much light. This is probably light being the issue, but it's part of my fake bonsai tree, which needs some trimming. But you can kind of see under here that we've got a big root ball and then kind of a funky shaped piece of wood that's wedged back in there to hide the bubbleator, as I like to call it, but it's sponge filter. Great source of beneficial bacteria. Great way to basically, if the power goes out or something, you're gonna have a biological source of your food. Does the snail color refer to the foot or the shell or both? It's usually the body when you're talking about ram's horns, but it can refer to both. Like if you're talking about mystery snails, the outside is what would be, I guess, said first. But what I wanted to say about this heavy foliage up top, or foliage, or however you want to say it, is I find big leaves like this all the time and have to fish them out. So it's worth doing a once over, and like sometimes you can replant stuff like this, like I'll let that hang. A lot of plants can live a while not being planted, and especially if you're using ferts. But like under here, I know that the Pelvica chromis, that the cribs ate the most beautiful part of the plant, because that's what they always do to my rotalas. And so basically I always take a look with tweezers or whatever. You could use your hand. I just like tweezers because I was suckered into buying them. I got them cheap on Amazon at least. So, but yeah, get this stuff out because it just causes ammonia. You really want to dry a leaf after it's lost its ability to photosynthesize in order to get like good tannins, because the stuff that's in a green living plant, one, it's a lot of water, but two, it can mold in the tank or like turn into milk, like gross stuff. Same with any yellowing of these guys. They're getting burnt out by the light probably. So if you've seen them turn yellow and then especially clear, it's a good way to, or a good time to get rid of them. This I put in here, this floating, yeah, I worry about them shading things out too. But I have a solution, which I'm going to show you in a minute, ELR, about these floating plants shading things out. Because right now, at first I couldn't get these to take hold, and now they'll literally close this gap in 2 days time, 3 days time. It's insane. You'd think you could see, yeah, Twizzlers. That's a good name for tweezers. But this is the little piece that was sent to me by Tampa Aquatics when I got a shrimp, and it, no joke, it was this size, like this much. And now this thing, in less than a month, I've split it twice, and this hornwort is just insane. So I just kind of leave it there, because when I sell fish to people or to local pet shops, then I can kind of throw a little something in there to calm the fish a little bit. But yeah, so what I was saying about cleaning the leaves off, when you get them out of here, it's always good to get rid of the dead ones. Also, I've got plenty of sprouting Java fern in here. So like these guys are gonna need to be cut and then replanted where their rhizomes have come out. Some of them have been redone, but also your pH dropped off majorly. Should I do a 20% water change daily until it's back to normal? what have caused it. All the other parameters are perfect. Okay, so if your pH, you're worried about your beta and your shrimp. So if your pH dropped, I guess what's more important than pH is your GH, your KH, and your TDS, which is next level above what we're talking about here. But if you have shrimp, you should get to know that. They actually, oh, Kathy, you do black water? That's cool. We'll have to chat about that. So we're moving on to the next tank. This will be a progression. Later tonight, I'm going to tell you some cool new inhabitants of the Aquascape tank, as I say, even though I guess they're all kind of scaped. But ELR, you were saying something. I'll get back to the shrimp question in a minute. But you were saying something about, let me get this zoomed out. This tank is not scaped at all right now. A couple plants were taken out because the other guys in the couple in the other tank were munching. Here's more of, there's another chunk of that hornwort. There's another chunk of it. Like, it's gone insane. That stuff grows like 3 or 4 inches a day, and I'm not exaggerating. But basically, this tank, I had to get some fish out that I didn't want in here. It's a deep 40 and bow front, and I had all these rocks set up like a mountain range with plants very nicely planted, if I may say so. And I could not, for the life of me, get the fish out, even with 2 nets. They were cherry barbs and young and fast. And I tore the whole thing apart, as well as trying to get the shrimp out of there. And so now all these rocks are kind of piled up in the corner, and things are just kind of resettled as I've let them grow in. But I got some water sprite, and I got these new lights. So I got these. I traded a batch of cherry shrimp, cold cherry shrimp. That's CULLED. And by that, I obviously don't mean killed, but I mean that they were pulled out of the tank because they didn't meet my standards. And this has, if you can see, it's got a layer of water lettuce and then water sprite. And with these lights, which I'll show you the box of if you want to get some, you can still light up your tank through that with that, and it's got enough red to it that it cancels out some of the green, but I know this is a really green tank, and I can't, like, it auto adjusts. I will not go through salt water in this house anyways. If I owned a house, or not a little apartment or condo or whatever, if I owned an actual house, may consider saltwater reef someday. But right now, I'm really enjoying the diversity that exists currently in the hobby of this freshwater stuff. Honestly, there's so many opportunities. Taking care of shrimp is almost like saltwater, and so that I'll use that as a point of getting back to what we were talking about David's shrimp question. So I'll leave this on just checkout mode. I'll point out a couple things real quick. Let's get some light on them. Got these beautiful bronze and black Moscow ribbon Japanese guppies. So they're a hybrid of black Moscow guppies and Japanese ribbon guppies. If you can see, the light is so bright, but here's the male back here. Those are females, and they have these long trailers too. But don't think I'm a monster, you guys, but I had to cut the gonopodium of the male because they can't actually reproduce with the gonopodium. His gonopodium, if you saw my video the night I got them, it literally trailed an inch behind his body. It was almost as long as him. His pectoral fins and his gonopodium have been so freakishly bred that happened. So I did research. I talked to a breeder who's been breeding them long Japanese style, ribbon style, for years. And you soak them in clove oil with oxygenated water, and then you take a scalpel and just really quickly you cut in a crescent. And you can actually, gonopodium is a fin that is curved, and the end of it is just fin, and a lot of fins grow back, just like you'll see fish get their fins chewed up and it'll grow back if it's soft tissue. But there is part of that setup that is, it's basically the penis of the male, but fish don't have that. So it's like a, think of it as like a children's slide or like a water park slide that kind of funnels things in the right direction, so to speak. And they're able to release their sperm into that, their molt into that, and then basically they come up next to the females, and the females, they'll sperma slide. They will come up next to the females and they'll tuck it up under them, and then the females will kind of wiggle, and if they're willing, they'll accept it. See, he actually got into a fight with the other male and lost part of his tail, but that'll grow back. But I separated them. The other male's up there in the breeder box for timeout for right now. Now we also got some lemon tetras. Everyone was like, those don't look like lemon tetras. Look at their iris really closely if you can, and it's half ruby red, and that's the real tell on these fish. They've colored up phenomenally because they are with other Venezuelan fish and Brazilian fish. They feel very comfortable in this setting. It's not too deep, the water's not too fast, but it's running. And they have bottom feeding catfish cories from their home territory. They have mid-water fish to low, which these guys hang out low, the rummy nose. And then the rainbow fish, there's 3 in here. They're just kind of odd ducks that are gonna get sold. And then there's some gudgeons hiding in the cracks under all those rocks. There will be shrimp in here again. I just want to use quality shrimp in here. In fact, if you can see it, there is a gudgeon that has a brood of eggs, and he is fanning his tail, which has a black spot on it. Hold on, let me try to get the zoom to stabilize. Has a black spot on his tail, and he's inside a rock, inside the hole in a rock, and he's been there for like 4 days, so they should be hatching any time now. But he hides in there, and basically the female and him have mated, and now his eggs are in there, and he'll guard them with the yolk sac while they're in there, and then hopefully they'll come out. But there's so many fish, and they have such little babies that it's a good chance they'll get eaten in this tank. Hence why I've introduced this new strategy of not worrying about the Aquascape, because this is now my secondary breeder after the first tank that I showed you is a breeder. To me, with this hobby and with you guys on this channel, I want to make sure that I can breed fish and create fish and shrimp as much as possible while making them comfortable and not having to tear up the Aquascape. In the case of this tank, since it's almost all Venezuelan fish, or South American at least, I think the rainbow fish are the only exception, and I can get them out easily. They're actually, I don't know if dumb is the right word, but they're pretty dumb. You can scoop them into a net really easily. You can trick them, but they're fast. So you have to kind of get the psychology of the rainbow fish. And it helps if you get the male first, because the females will come to the net. So kind of weird, but the lemon tetras, yeah. So this is another strain. You can see ember tetras back there. They're much smaller. But up here, these are lemon tetras, and they have a beautiful red spot on their half their eye. It looks like a Pokeball. If you know what Pokemon is, I don't really know that much about Pokemon, but I know that much. And then they have like a nice tangerine color. When I got them, they looked like this fish. They looked clear with a little bit of yellow and silver. And within 24 hours, they colored up to this wonderful tangerine. I think it's the pH. I think the other thing that I did was I hid a lot of catappa leaves, so almond leaves, back under here, and then also boiled maple leaves. The other thing that's nice about this tank is I've got Corydora hebrosus and Julii all hanging out low, so they clean up and utilize scraps from the bottom. Then I've got this layer of water sprite and rotala and octopus plant. We've got purple fern plant that's big, and we've got going up wisteria and stuff that grows quickly that I can cut, but it just sucks nitrates out, so it allows me to have more fish in this tank. I'm probably 20 to 30% overstocked in this tank by the inch rule standards, even by the cubic inch one, but I've got 2 types of guppies, and then I've kind of got like, there's 5 neon green tetras, there's about 5 adult guppies, and then there's 8 I don't, oh, he's eating a snail, which is interesting. And then I've got 5 ember tetras. One died of cancer this morning, and it died because of me. I scooped it out of the tank, and it was dead by the time that after one chase around the tank. I wouldn't have known it was cancer, except for the last few weeks, I've been noticing along its spine, there's been a black crud growing. And then he started to get some like welts on his outside too, and the black started spreading. And since they're so clear, I could see like right through their body, and it was just spreading, and he was swimming sideways, and I could just tell he wasn't doing well. Plus one of his fins was rotting, and I've treated everybody with general cure, IC-X, and warm temperature. So antibacterial, antifungal, anti-parasitics were long ago treated. So kind of interesting, but kind of morbid. You could see through his body, and so I took some pictures. I might incorporate that into a future video, but I don't know, I was feeling kind of bummed for him, so I didn't really record it or anything. But I really love the lemon tetras, and a lot of people were trying to tell me they weren't lemon tetras, but honestly, you have to get a good strain. There are some really plain ones. These ones are from the Xingao or Xingu River, a branch of the Amazon. Is that wood from your yard? I was thinking of... No, it's not wood from my yard. So this stuff is from the Washington state coastline by Oregon and Washington. And it's curled up, and it had been in salt water and sun. So it's sun bleached and saltwater cured for who knows how long, but probably a couple months. And that really helps because you don't want to use green wood, like freshly trimmed wood, in your tanks ever. Unless you really know what you're doing. I mean, I'd try it in a pond or something first if you could. But like if you dry it and you cut it, you can use a lot of things from, around here. But things like cedar or spruce or juniper, hey, what's up, fish man? Yeah, cedar, spruce, juniper, all bad ideas because of how aromatic those plants are. And there's oils in them, and that can cause issues for the fish. It can throw off the pH, and it can also cause things to happen in a bad way on a fungal and bacterial level. But it's interesting to note that fungus is repelled by cedar. So maybe there's work to be done knowing just the right amount of cedar to put in a tank to not hurt the fish, but to keep back harmful bacteria and fungal infections. I don't know. But what's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Backyard, old and sun bleached, beaver den. Yeah, that would probably work. I mean, I'd check it out and just make sure that, one, there's not like moss and anything moldy on it or like wet rotten. And then what I would do is I usually take either hydrogen peroxide or like 20% bleach and like, the rest water, or 10% bleach and the rest water. And I soak the wood in the bathtub for a little while. I'll do a whole batch of it. And yeah, boiling it is great. I just don't have a pot big enough to boil some of these curly-Q pieces this piece is 2 feet long, and then it has these gnarly pieces that go out in every direction. I had to break off a couple to get in here. This is a northern manzanita tree wood. That's not the red kind, it's the lighter kind that's been super bleached out by the sun and the salt. But yeah, so there's certain woods, the harder the wood is, the better. So like hardwood trees are always better. So I recommend that highly. Also, I wouldn't recommend most evergreen trees unless you know what you're doing. But, I mean, if you're willing to experiment, let me know how it goes. It's just, some of them cause like blackbeard algae to grow. Certain like light woods and soft woods. Other ones can just rot in your tank, and some can actually release chemicals that make your fish sick. So in any case, I was just describing how this tank is kind of fully utilized on every level. Oh, so the lights. So these lights are great. Sorry if you heard my alert. I still can't figure out. I have everything muted, but I don't know. Figure it out later. These lights, I have this all exposed right now for you to see. So I do have a surge protector. I'm going to get a surge protector with a timer, because the bummer thing about these lights, yes, exactly, pine and sappy woods, not good, cedar, juniper, all that kind of stuff. These are so bright, I don't want to blind everyone, but like, look up at this plant right now, and then I'll shine one of the lights up there at the plant. So yeah, this thing can easily light up my entire room. And it's just a 30-watt LED with 6 oversized diodes. I'm going to show you the box so you can actually get it if you want. But they get kind of warm, and they're definitely cheap consumer products made for the Asian market and Russian market. This box happens to be in English on the front box, but they're called Sta-Sun or STA-Sun with Cree LEDs. And Cree LEDs, you'll find basically this same lamp or those same LEDs on all sorts of cheap Chinese stuff. So I happened to get these from a fellow fish club member, traded him some shrimp for these. Like, my goal here is to spend no money on this hobby if I can help it, and to trade, and to, you know, I probably invested a good over $400 in the first tank and the other stuff. And then I have traded for the bulk of getting new tanks and all of that, or trading up, or getting a deal, or doing graphic design for somebody, or art for somebody, or just the kindness of people. You know, they'll give me a plant and then I'll trim it back, or I'll trade them a cutting. And I think that's the way the hobby should be. I just think that, like, it's great when you can start and then, like, get free rocks, get whatever. Like, yes, I would have liked to pay a lot for the rocks. The only rocks we paid for were the ones that my wife and I picked out for that tank over there that are now covered in plants. So trading is great. It's how I got a nice variety of shrimp for a low cost. Totally. Yeah, I'm just reading comments if people like think I'm talking non sequiturs. That's the live stream thing, how it works. I'm getting it down a little bit better. But yeah, so this is the box for the light. It's a 30-watt. MSRP over in Asia are $30 or euros, I guess, and then $20 was their cost. This was from a warehouse, and they're going to repackage these. So over there's like 4 manufacturers of big LEDs, and this one's the best energy saver one. It has a long lifespan of 50,000 hours. And then let's see here, it is small and light, but the instructions / charging pack, there's no like capacitor or any sort of heat sink or anything at all. It's really straightforward, and this is so hot I don't really want to touch it, and that makes me nervous. Hence why it's kind of hanging over this glass right now. The glass will be okay. This shatter is from before. It's fine. It's silicone. But yeah, you can touch these handles, and it's designed with these plugs. So you can buy clips for like $5 on Amazon or eBay or whatever, and you clip them on, screw them on like you would a vice clamp, and then you can have that hanging above. But I mean, you can buy these for $30 a pop plus tax online, I think, and you can get the next size up, which is a 60-watt, which is so blinding, so hot. My buddy has them on his rimless ADA tanks, and they actually burn everything out. So they're really for deeper tanks. Like, literally, I can just shine this light from, like, I'll get a picture of it, but this is as far as the cord will go. You know, I'm holding it back here, and I can still light up the whole tank with these things. I didn't have a top on this tank for a long time. I just like the access of not having a top. Plus, it looks crappy when it gets water stains and whatever. I don't know. They all think I'm going to feed them. But the other option that looks pretty modern that you can do with these is you can always do a bar without a top. So you can screw a bar on here and have it come over like a U bar or a T bar or an L bar. And then the other thing I hate about this tank is this center thing. But yeah, so these guys are definitely full spectrum LED floodlights is what they're marketed as. And there's a lot of Russian on them. even though they're made in China. But the way my buddy has them set up is he got right here, this, let's see here, these holes are set up for different sizes and they balance well. Like you can hold them from this angle and it still balances the whole rig. And then you can put like a wing nut or whatever you want in there, but you can get some stainless steel cable, and then you just get like a U-hook like this one right over here, if you can see that. And then you can just hang them by the ceiling with an extension cord. The only thing is they don't have timers, they're not smart, they don't have a bunch of settings, but if you do have a timer or a dimmer switch, they work through the power. So like the amount of electricity going through them determines the brightness. You can't mess with the red, yellow, blue, green spectrum at all. But yeah, you have clamps, lights with LED bulbs sitting on top of your tanks. Yeah. So, I mean, on my open tanks, which I wish were rimless, they'd look so much better. Like right now, I could see what I made if it was rimless. Right now, we've got like a surreal red root floater moment going on in this tank. I'm going to get into this tank in depth, but I wanted to help answer David's question. Sorry, David. Thank you for being patient. And we'll set you up looking at my shrimp right now since just gave them some food. What's up, Turbo Fish, Holla Fish fam? So right now, this is most of the extent of the fish that of the shrimp that I'm breeding. Also, if you can see this, the mystery fry in this tank, definitely not guppies. Most likely, they're rainbow fish, but they could even be gudgeons, but they have bright blue eyes. So those little guys, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in here, and they have bright blue eyes. So we've narrowed it down. Then we've got my red coals that are in one of these fish dividers, and they're going to be sold to the fish store soon. And then we've got my red really coals, and you probably can't see them very well, but let me scoot some things around so you guys can see what's going on in this tank. Of course, there's a million snail eggs in this tank. I'm going to once I'm sold out of a bunch of these things, I'm gonna let a fish go on a rampage on the snails, like borrow a miniature puffer or something. But in this tank, I've got wild looking shrimp, so like the clear reverted shrimp. But then I've got red realies that are 2 months old probably, and they get pretty lackadaisical when they're in a small tank like this. This is their mother, and she's probably not up to snuff. She's getting old. And thank you for the congrats on the fish. I'm going to show you more new fish. Also, so yeah, these baby fish appeared the night that the gudgeons, so the gudgeons, if you haven't heard the story, which I'm sure everyone has, they jumped out of this tank while chasing each other breeding, and they jumped out together down into this tank and ended up killing 70% of my shrimp just by chewing on them, not even eating them. So that was a bummer. It killed a lot of my colorful shrimp that I got from Tampa Aquatics as a gift for kind of showing his channel to folks. And like, I found him first and ordered some stuff because it was the cheapest. And then I found out that he was a small farm and independent owner of a small fish farm. And I found that really cool, and I started a friendship with him. So in any case, those cases are cold shrimp. I always keep them with some leaf matter and some organic matter, and then I give them food pellets also, and then I make sure to kind of move the water around. But this tank, the water doesn't move a whole lot, and I have extra sponge filters, which I got 4 for $10 online, and you can just run air through them. Taking it easy on some cribs and swords. I see. I like your taste. Hey, I will take you back in a moment, sir, and show you my cribs because I think they're pretty cool. But yeah, so right now it's feeding time. You can see I got a lot of snails in here. This is where I'm selecting the snails from for my red ram's horn. You finally filled your 75-gallon with water for Christmas. Rad, like that you got for Christmas. That's awesome. So if you guys look here, whoa, don't look that much. There are blue dream shrimp. These are from LRB Aquatics from Lucas Bretz. Rad dude, love him. and his work, what he's done. I'll show you his endlers that I've been keeping and breeding too. But essentially, these are my shrimp. I started with low grade reds, like up here, like see-through normal old school cherry reds, and now I'm down to like, they've got red legs. You can't see through some of the female, like this one is currently buried and you can't even see that she has a saddle or eggs or anything. And that's how I want it, with the red. Yeah, totally. The blue, but gudgeons have blue eyes too, so it's weird. And they're the ones who jumped in, but the reason I think it could be rainbows is because I did switch some of the Java moss and hornwort in here. But yeah, so this tank, we've got this big mama that's almost 2 inches long here, these two, and they're kind of my star breeders. I cut back on a lot of them, but I always keep, if you can see, there's a catappa leaf back in there, a full new one, plus there's the remains of 2 others back there. I've been able to trade literally like a cherry shrimp for some of those at my fish stores and stuff. But yeah, so back to your water question. So you said, David, are you still on here? Talk to me if you are, because eyes would be a little older and extremely impressive. Yeah, we'll see what they are. There's nothing in the tank to eat them. And right now they seem to just be eating Daphnia and stuff like that. So we'll see if they are, what kind of fry they are. It's been a mystery, but they came out so teeny. Like they came out smaller than an apostrophe. And now they're 2 weeks old maybe. And they look kind of like Endler fry or guppy fry, but they're still smaller than newborn guppy fry. And they are completely like crystal clear in the back. And then their eye is blue and their body is really brightly iridescent when you look at it, like it's made out of a sequin or something. So when we're talking about water tannins and pH and GH and KH and total dissolved solids for shrimp, if you have Neocaridina shrimp or you know, the simpler shrimp like tiger shrimp and things like that, Amano shrimp, basically, if your water isn't hard or soft and it's fairly neutral in the pH, you can try a water change of like 40% or so, David, but that's pretty high. It's only if your shrimp are like dying off quickly that I would do something that drastic. It's better to do like a 10% change every day or two with shrimp, and because they get shocked easily, even though they can tolerate their temperature going way down or up and their parameters changing sometimes, especially neos like red cherry shrimp. But I would do it more gradually. Like I would do, wow, I just noticed, look at the size of this molt, that like exoskeleton in there of one of these big females is just ginormous. But in any case, yeah, so that's one thing you can do. I'm going to show you guys this next tank just in the interest of time. This is my baby tank right now as far as scaping goes. Got a bunch of plants in here. Everything's kind of got a red or pink hue and these guys are just going up and down right now because I don't have them cordoned off at the moment. I was working in the tank earlier. Drip acclimate. You could drip acclimate, I suppose, yeah. That would work. I mean, that's what you would do with higher end shrimp, definitely. That is like the way to do it. That's the textbook way to do anything with expensive shrimp. Yeah, you love the LRB endlers. Yeah, so what I've done is a few generations now selected for the spade tail and then blue on the spade tail and just solid yellow bodies. And then I was going to tell you guys later that I've got some CPD's Celestial Pearl Danios today. I got 4 or 5 of them. And this is as big as they're going to get. They're 3/4 of an inch. They look like little beautiful trout. They've got great markings, but everything moves so quick. So I'll get some still pictures and do a profile on them in the future. But you can see that they're just really pretty nice little fish. And they've got a yellow belly. And yeah, so I like that they're in here. And then we've got ruby tetras in here. And then we've got a calico ancestris, and an autosynclus, all in here, with red albino ram's horns and blue shrimp, which usually hang out over here somewhere. But yeah, so the goal is everything except for the female guppy or endlers is small enough that it's not going to be mowing down on all of the baby fry or on the shrimp. I've also got CO2 running in this tank right now at about a little over a bubble a second in the bubble counter. I like doing that for like 6 hours a day, and then like in the peak of when there's light. And basically I'm not going to do that the whole time, but I'm going to try to spur some of this growth because I got these all as cultured plants. And then the endlers had babies, so you probably can't see it super well, but there are lots of, you know, very typical looking. These guys the oldest ones are 3 days old, and some are still being born today. She's having a drawn out birth. It was a stressful birth. I had to separate the males and females because they were being little bastards. Sorry, pardon my French. But the males were eating at the females' back end and tail. Where'd they drop the eggs? Oh, these are live bearers. So endlers don't drop eggs. They give birth to little teeny fish that are fully formed, essentially. They look like this one's moving slow. Maybe I can zoom in on it. They look like that. And they're not totally translucent, but they're clear-ish. Nothing has died in your tank, but your pH went from 7.6 to the upper 6s. Beta and blue dreams are acting normal thus far. I did a water change when I noticed, like... Okay, well, first of all, I'd retest a couple times to make sure that reading is correct. Second of all, there you can see the spade tail on the line I've got from Lucas and that blue at the bottom. I'm trying to refine that and bring the blue out. And then in the right light, they are rainbow iridescently. They're not yellow, which is kind of crazy. I don't know, Lucas's magician-y, wizardy ways. It must be his beard. Oh no, these aren't CPD fry. I just bought these CPD. I hope to have fry from them. But yeah, no, so you can see I've got, I think there's 5 CPDs in here right now that have great color. And then I've got 6 tetras. So these are endler fry. These are the fry that I was talking about giving away to Patreon subscribers, as well as, I mean, anything that I'm breeding is going to be given away. But I was just excited because they finally had some fry this round, and yeah. So in any case, everything in this tank is like green, and then it'll have hints of pink, almost everything. And then this stuff will get moved to the back. I don't know if I'm going to have it this extreme, like too much of a contrast, because I like the rocks. But the idea being that then the yellow fish will stand out, but kind of complement some of the yellows in the green palette. And then the CPDs back there, they do a nice mini schooling or shoaling, and they kind of match their backdrop. So at the store, they were kind of a light pink, and now they're turning more of like a bright orange kind of color. And they just look really nice. And the ruby tetras also have colored up in this tank. So I think a lot of its environment can do so much for a fish's color. But as far as, David, as your water goes, when it drops like that, most shrimp don't hate high 6s pH. Like, they come from pretty clear water streams, but they don't like the sudden change. So that's the big danger, unless it's dropping under like 6.3 or so. If you've got Neocaridina, which it sounds like you do, you got blue dreams, right? They can withstand that. There we go. Man, zoom is terrible on this thing. But I would suggest, I mean, there's the quick up and down pH thing, and if you're worried about it, you can always buy one of those kits. What it does is it adds either, hydrochloric acid or something, or something really basic like baking soda. It's just, you can do that yourself, but really look into it online, like per gallon, what you want to put in. I always have been using a little bit of crushed coral. Basically, I think that crushed coral is a great way to go for shrimp and guppies and endlers and stuff that likes a little bit harder water. Here in Seattle, TDS is 28 coming out of the tap. So basically anything I add, like anything they eat, I have to add to the tank. And so, or anything they need in the water. Sorry, I'm watching them eat, watching the calico, pleco, and watching everyone eat in the tank right now. I really love these celestial pearl danios. They were called Galaxy rasboras before they were classified correctly. They are definitely in their own little league. They came out of Myanmar, or formerly known as Burma, and it was due to the military junta that was in control that we didn't know what fish were there, really, especially small little ones. So some were smuggled through Laos, Cambodia, Thailand areas, trade routes, but not really in any number. And actually, these little teeny guys that only get this big, they were caught by the thousands in Myanmar during the brutal dictatorship, and they were eaten in stews where you'd eat like 400 or 500, and that was still more effective than selling them on the pet trade for foreign money. So that shows you like the state of things. Just like, even I think 2001 was when they were classified, and 2003 is when they really hit the pet scene at any number, and then wasn't even till later than that that like Petco and those places got them. I'm gonna turn the CO2 off really quick. Let me set you guys up so you're looking at the tank. So basically, catappa leaves and things like that, they will make your water more tannic, but they're not going to necessarily help your pH. They can prevent some of the pH from, like organic matter in general. It can either cause ammonia to happen as it degrades, but if it was dried out already, it won't as much. You'll mainly be getting carbon and natural compounds out of it that are not as harmful as if you threw wet like green leaves in the tank. But when plants melt and stuff, they do produce, I mean, they produce carbon and things like that, but they also produce, this is all crooked and wonky, I'm sorry you guys. But yeah, they produce a lot of different chemical byproducts, and I would recommend that you watch the tank, test it again to make sure that you didn't do just slightly off. Test strips are kind of garbage. They'll give you a rough idea, but like up to a whole point, they can be off sometimes. I don't know why. Even the good brands can be off. They really just tell you when there's like an oh crap moment. So also, you can probably see in the tank right now, the rainbow tail endlers are displaying for the females already, even though one only gave birth. And so they're already at it trying to get her pregnant again. So man, poor girls never get a break. And I would love more females. I got these. Yeah, thanks you guys for helping each other with the pH stuff while I'm talking, because I'm seeing things and I get so distracted. I'm like, ooh, shiny fish. But yeah, these endlers are my favorite endler. They're from Lucas Brett's. You can buy them for, I think, like $45 for a pair of them, or they might be cheaper than that now. They used to be really expensive. But I got them via Aquarium Co-op, and I love the males, but they only had really young females. And it turned out that I bought, that is something I spent money on, is I will spend money on fish when I know that I'll be rehoming them. And once I make my money back, then I'm happy, you know? So if I can sell these guys to some people, I'll be happy. But I want the money that people have so graciously given me through Patreon to go to this channel being better. So whether that means getting a mic, because I will be, oh, I have an announcement too. I'll make coming up here. But like interviewing people, visiting places. I have an open invite to go down to some of the fish farms in Florida and check those out, as well as seagrass and some of the big operations down there, which could be pretty cool, especially from a historical standpoint and a scientific standpoint and genetic. Like, where did this come from? They have records of like what year. It's either 5D, imperial, or seagrass, or the people importing fish other than kind of black market or shadier channels, and really high-end collectors for the most part. But they're the ones who know what year. Oh, cherry shrimp. Well, we got those from so-and-so distributor in Taiwan in 2002 November. Like, they know it to the month. Like, so there's a lot of good history there since they've been around since the 60s. About which fish appeared when and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so with pH in the water, David, what you really want to get is one of these. So these are $10 or $12 online. It's just a TDS meter. And this tells you, like, so my water comes out at 0. So anything going on in my water is going to be because I messed with it. So this tank's at 200. Now, like in Chicago, in the Midwest, in a lot of places, in Indiana, people will get water out of the tap up to 500. Do I calibrate? I don't have a pH pen. I just have a TDS. So what it does is it sends an electrical current. My shrimp tank I keep at a lower TDS. And okay, so you know what your TDS is at, Dave. Okay, so 220 should be fine. I keep mine a little bit lower in the Neocaridina shrimp because I know that almost all of this TDS is from the food they eat, so like zinc and stuff like that. You don't want copper, obviously, but I know that it's minerals from the food they eat, and then a little bit from this rock, and then a little bit of crushed coral. And the crushed coral is a great way to slowly release calcium. You can also try a cuttle bone, but all those things that you do to raise your TDS is also pretty much an easy way to cause your pH to lower. Because it becomes a sink for those things. The calcium or the carbon bonds with different ions and hydrogen, and then the oxygen evaporates, and you can actually lose through like things like tannic leaves and things like that. You can actually lose some of your pH that way, and people use that as a buffer. It's not going to be like a sudden like, oh my gosh, but if you put crushed coral or shells or cuttle bone in your shrimp tank, you'll notice like right away, like boom, like the cuttlefish bones give off quite a bit. Another one that like I've seen people do when it's an emergency and they have like acid off the charts acid off the charts in their tank, is they'll drop like some baking calcium carbonate, baking soda. No, I was thinking baking powder. Baking soda, but it's like a little pinch makes a huge difference. So like in my TDS video, go back and maybe watch the TDS video. Yeah, baking soda. Go back and watch that video if you have any questions about TDS. But with TDS, that doesn't necessarily tell you your GH and your KH. The reason you want those values higher for your shrimp is more for your Caridina species. Neocaridina are a lot more hardier, and they can withstand low, but they can't withstand super high. And so as long as you don't have any element in a huge amount in there, or like a plastic that's leaking something maybe, or probably not a plastic as much as like a metal component could be throwing off TDS and things. Rocks can throw that off. Silicate sand can throw that off. But you just want to make sure you have enough dissolved. And with shrimp tanks, really the more like set it and forget it you can be is kind of the better as far as water changes go. Like you just want to do them once in a while. Yeah, and baking soda, exactly. Thank you, Kathy. It is a temporary fix. So is adding hydrochloric acid. You're going to have to figure out what the root of the problem is. But like that's what's in those like API kits that let you raise or lower it with like a couple drops, is it's like some hardcore acid that will corrode your skin. And I've tested it out on the back of my hand, and it actually does like corrode. So it's a pretty good concentration of it. But I've got in here, we've got also the babies that are coming up that people were curious. Does adding more pH, wait, hold on, let me read that one more time. Does adding more aeration affect the pH? Kind of. Watch my TDS video on that, because the more air you have in the water and the warmer the water is, the more it can retain certain substances and the farther apart the molecules are. But it's not always correlated, but yes, aeration can cause the pH to spike, actually. So like when fish, it can cause ammonia more specifically to spike. So when fish are traveling in a bag and they've run out of most of their oxygen, and then you open it, that aeration, when the air hits the water, you can often get ginormous pH/ammonia spike, and then you can kill off your fish really quickly, and that's just no good. It's no fun. And yeah, so just be aware of that. But there's a lot of good resources on how to raise or lower your pH. David, we can message each other about maybe some more specifics of your situation, because it's hard to say. Like the range that you're in, I think it's easily fixable. If nothing's died, I wouldn't stress on it too much. I would add something that's going to raise your pH just a little bit. Also, I want you to see another thing that makes these fish the most awesome fish in the world. She's eating hair algae out of my tank. Thanks, pretty girl. So the light on this tank, which is a fairly nice Aquascape Fluval light that retails for $200 new. Got a deal on it though, but it retails for a lot new. It doesn't shine through as well on the other plants. So you need like Nubius or grasses or Suswassertong or something like that. But whoever it was that mentioned that they have cribs and mollies and stuff, or sword fins or sword tails, not sword fins, sword tails. Yeah, these are my cribs. And if you watch the beginning of the live stream, I got some pretty good shots because the sun was setting coming through the window, and they are in full-on spawn mode. And actually they've discolored a little bit just even since the beginning of the cast because they were so into their love. But they're really cute. Like when they're really into each other, he will guard her, and like if she goes out too far, he makes way. So all these guppies know to stay away. Like he will follow her if she leaves the cave. And the nice thing is, like I said, if you don't overfeed them their vegetables, they'll eat hair algae, which is nice, but they also eat my plants, and they've eaten all the beautiful red off the top of those plants. If you look back on videos, they eat anything tender, and that's always the pretty stuff, right? So, but yeah, good luck on that, David. I wish I could be more helpful in helping you with that, because it could be a lot of factors. I'd need to know your substrate, need to know the size, I need to know all that kind of stuff. And if you put that out there on a forum, people could help you, but I'm sure they're gonna throw you a bunch of crap like, oh, you don't know that, like, because you get that a lot on forums. I've found the best way to get like questions answered sometimes is to ask a really like blatantly dumb question and then attach a legitimate question, and then ignore that everyone thinks you're an idiot or whatever, or those jerks on the message board who have done it 2 years. People doing it 10 years probably won't chastise you, but people who have been doing it like 2 or 3 and think they know everything will just rip people apart on those boards, as I've just noticed. So don't get bummed if you ask a question to anybody on YouTube or on boards or whatever. There's a whole weird psychology, and like, to me, like, we all like, you didn't buy a fish to kill it. Like, you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to learn. And so all these questions are reasonable, and they all have good answers out there if people are willing to be helpful. And usually some will, even if they give you some BS snark with like, oh, you don't know that the Japanese clay that you bought for your aquascaping throws the pH off 0.2 when you have tap water from the Midwest and you have a betta in your tank. Like, no, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure like experts didn't know that. But, don't get discouraged by snark and meanness on the message boards. There's people who just don't have anything better to do, and if they're throwing you that stuff, they're not the sages you should talk to. People like Gary Lang or, Dean Tweedle, or, trying to think, Rachel O'Leary. They're all good people out there in the hobby. I have an announcement, speaking of good people in the hobby. Not Guinness, but Dr. Pepper. Let's see here. Dave, what'd you say? I know all the parameters. I check them almost every day and have it perfect for 6 months. Okay, yeah, message me, man, because that sounds kind of odd. Like, that should be okay. It could be that your testing kit got thrown off, possibly. I don't know. What is my hair doing? Like, why do I have to have such an artsy haircut? My wife has been telling me to get rid of it for a while, so... Flock of seagulls has got to go. But yeah, so speaking of people in the fish world of note and merit, I have recently in a video been called out in a good way by Peck Tech. So Sean at Peck Tech, who's got a great channel, interesting. He's got a lot of high-tech stuff, but he does a lot of good profiles on things and just interesting stuff. Him and I are going to team up on a video soon, and so we're going to talk early this week, and we will be figuring out what we want to do. A couple things I want to do. I mean, I have so many things in the works and like things that I'm researching, and I keep buying and trading and mixing around plants and fish, and so a lot of this I want you guys to see updates of like what's going on so that I don't have to fill in everything. And if that's boring, let me know. But I think that kind of makes a community and kind of like a story of like how we got to this point and what I've messed up on and what I've succeeded on and what fish go together and what didn't seem probable or what breaks the rules. Like this tank is breaking the rules of how you're supposed to keep fish, but it's great, it's happy. You can tell by like the fact that when I get the fish and I put them in there and they color up beautifully and they just swim around. Fish have problems. They just do, especially when you're keeping 50 of an animal. It's like, can you imagine if you had 50 dogs and cats? One of them would bound to be sick at any given time, pretty much. So, yeah, but basically, I also wanted to show you, I'm sorry, I'm so ADD on these live streams. Let me flip this around. Okay, so the Kabamba, yeah, Sean is awesome. I like his steampunk stuff. His steampunk tank is rad. He plays with stuff a lot. I think this is adorable. All my Hebrosis, for some reason, since I added the lemon tetras, they all sit on this rock. And in the wild, I learned from Dean Tweedle when he did a lecture about collecting them, collecting new cory species in Peru, that they, at night, towards the end of the day, where the rocks heat up, they lay on those and in the sand banks, and then that's where they lay their eggs, and the cool influx of water is like their signal to lay the eggs, but they like to chill just like that. I thought there was something wrong with all of them because before they used to hide down in here, and now that I've got all this kind of jungle thing going on down here, we've got gudgeons and just big catfish and then fry that hang out there. So hopefully the fry from these black Japanese, you can see the wingspan on those ears. But yeah, so what I was saying is I've got so many ideas for videos that, and there's so many things we can discuss and the questions that people have been asking. And it's like, thank you guys so much for building this community. Again, I'm going to say it if you weren't here at the beginning of the cast, but please leave a comment of what time and day these live casts work, and then I'll set a schedule and we'll try to hit those times and days at least like every other week for sure at that time and day, if not every week, and then I'll have some more sporadic ones for the people who can't make that one. Just when something changes, if I get new fish at a fish auction, or if I sell a bunch of them and make room for something new, or get some cool plants or whatever like that. So this is a Iwagumi style tank with these rocks being so prevalent, and there's some stuff planted that's going to grow like crazy, but it's all low right now, and you can kind of get a feel for the diversity. This stuff's all tissue cultured plants, which I have never planted exclusively with, and there are root tabs. It's not Eco Complete or Amazonia or anything fancy. It's like Petco root tabs. I think they're Fluvault, to be fair, the brand, but I do have the the little canister that I reviewed that has blown up on me and literally cut me, but I'm still using it because I don't have anything better at the time, and I had a cartridge still. So, and I don't have the money to buy a nice setup right now. So, I will get better CO2 in the future. But right now I've got the Fluvault $50 system with this little inline bubble valve checker. I stopped some of the explosions by adding this inline thing that stops the water from going back in, because it was condensing and then going in here, and then when the pressure CO2 coming out under pressure cools, it condenses from the warmth here, and then it forms, it causes like a capillary action or some sort of thing and pulls it up and down into there. Then pressure comes back through, pushes up, water stacks up here, can't make it through the little ceramic membrane airstone thing, and pop, this blows off, the line ruptures, it sounds like a firecracker. Oh, finally one of my shrimp came out. This shrimp is looking really pale, and that, I don't know, I'm curious. I hope it's about to molt, because this is not up to my standards. This is another one of Lucas's shrimp, these blue ones, these blue shrimp with the leopard endlers or tiger endlers, whatever you want to call them. They are lines from him, and I need to get more blue dreams from him. Even though I do have these babies growing, I just want to get some fresh blood from one of his other tanks, because it's been a couple years since this line split off. So, yeah. But in any case, yeah, his blue shrimps are friggin' amazing. You can look at my old videos to see some of my other shrimps, like some of my earlier videos. My early videos back 2 months ago when this channel started, which is just like crazy. You guys are blowing my mind that in 2 months this much has changed. But essentially, I got to get going here soon, because my favorite catch of my life, my wife,
hi,
is apparently eating dinner. What are we having for dinner, honey?
I'm having a fresh green salad with tofu.
Where did this salad come from, and is there one for me?
There's I got you macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese? I'm a child.
He won't eat salad.
Hey, I will eat salad when it has like a bunch of ranch dressing on it. And bacon. Sorry for those vegans out there. I'm kind of like a white trash hippie, if that makes sense. But in any case, so yeah, we're gonna team up with my hot dogs and mac and cheese. That's what I grew up on. Sean or Pectec and I, we're gonna team up on some cool stuff. I've got the archaeology, biology, botany, history like bent in my mind when I approach things, but he's got the like mechanical, like methodical, manicured, also creative and inquisitive side too. And so we want to work on something. We're going to talk about what it is, but if you guys have a subject that you'd like us to cover, like tag teaming that or just talking on chat, like I may just interview him on my channel and organically let it come out in like a live ask me anything type thing for him, or we may just collab and like he'll do a video for my channel, I'll do one for his about something. Yeah, he's super artsy and musical. He's like a super talented, nice, kind guy, and I can't thank him enough for like being kind to me since I'm a smaller, newer channel, and like, you know, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but I honestly look up to people, and some people are just too busy to chat or not interested in working with other people. And then there's other people on YouTube who foster that and just help the hobby in general. And I understand both sides of it. I do, but he's a great guy in that sense. You know, Dustin's Fish Tanks, he's been nice. Rachel O'Leary's been nice. Lucas Bretz has been freaking awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of great people. Bob Steenfott, they're really all trying to grow the hobby. I mean, all those people sell fish. And so other than Sean, I don't know how much he does trading and selling. I don't sell fish per se. That's not my goal. But yeah, I want to help people. I want to learn. Like, this is a hobby for me. This is like, I have many hobbies. Geology and collecting, you know, stones. For a while I was collecting sapphires and garnets, and then fossils. And then I was into, well, I still am, mycology. And then we've got lots of plants around the house. And then I'm an artist by trade. And then graphic designer by needing to eat food. Photographer. So there's lots of things I'm interested in. Microbiology I was interested in for a while. So it goes on endlessly. And then with my degrees, I do have a little bit of background that maybe some of the other fish channels haven't brought to the scene yet. And that's why I'm kind of like a little lost as a channel right now, because I want to show you guys these kind of boring like unboxing or like, this is my tank, look what it looks like, look at me. But in the long run, I really do want to do more of the like the kabamba grass or the Java plant video that I did, where I talk about like what year it was discovered, who discovered it, and then like interesting links about its genetics or like things that the plant or animal can do. And yeah, I have ADHD like crazy, especially on these live streams. I'll like read something and then like I try to stick to that and I can't, and then I think about something, I'm like, oh, I'm forgetting that, I can't do another take. And like, I guess I want to be genuine to you guys. I want to be like on the fly, and I'll get better at it. Like if I start with a subject, tonight my subject was just like, hey guys, tell me what day to do things on. And then I just happened to get some celestial pearl danios and more rasboras. And then my cribs happened to be mating, and my lemon tetras happened to be jousting, and there's just a lot going on in the tanks. And I live in a small apartment in Seattle, and you know, it's kind of cool. Like, I'm never gonna have the big monster tanks and like crazy fish that are, you know, really cool, like arowanas or whatever, you know. But I think I can have a lot of these nano species, and you know, cribs being probably the biggest, or maybe, I guess, okay, plecos are probably the biggest thing that I keep. But yeah, so I want to do more with, if you can see it, the microscope over there on the floor next to the fireplace where I work on it. I have a friend coming over with a microscope that's more powerful, and she can videotape through it somehow. So that's rad. We're going to look at different flora, fauna in the water, and then probably look at different cells from plants and animals. So yeah, we've got lots of cool things planned. I want to do more videos on more obscure shrimp that you can find but are hard to find, that are new to the hobby. And then I want to do another video on every species that I have in here, but I want to do enough research that it's interesting. It's not just a normal profile. Like the lemon tetras the other day was a pretty normal profile, but I wanted to show you guys like, hey, right now they happen to be jousting. So like when they're doing something interesting is when I'd like to do videos and show you guys what they do. People are going with smaller fish in larger tanks. Yeah, I agree. Like, I wish, wife, I wish that we had, you know, a tank that would fill up double this size and yay tall, and it just had like 500 lemon tetras or whatever in it, and or, you know, just like basically a ginormous version of this tank where it's just constantly swimming. And hey, what's up, Waterbox? Welcome. You're just catching the tail end. I was asking people when they want this cast to be on a regular basis. This has been a very ADHD disorganized cast where I tried to answer some questions really poorly for poor David, and then I also was showing that I got an auto sinkless. This, I've got some CO2 running through one of my new scapes. Sold a lot of the shrimp, have some baby blues, some baby tangerines, and a bunch of reds coming up. That the blues and tangerines I should be able to give away. For me, I don't care. Like right now, you guys set the pace. I have been working from home on like graphic design or weird like chalk art projects where I like go make signs at a bar on a piece of chalk with a piece of chalk and like do pinstriping and like signage in windows. And I'm hunting for a job. So once I have a more normal 9-to-5 job, these videos probably won't be coming out daily, but while I have this free time, I'm trying to do something with it and build a community of it, do at least triple the amount of research as time that you see on these live casts each day. And then, you know, introduce that. And then that way in the future, you know, we'll have a backlog. Yeah, I'm a graphic designer. That's what I do for a living. I'm a fine artist, I guess. I'm a decent artist. No, but I'm a fine art person. Like my house, you can see, is full of art. A lot of animals, natural stuff. But I don't have a job. I'm freelancing right now. So I don't have a job at a firm at the moment or anything. So no 401k, insurance through my wife. And so that's also why the Patreon's rad for this hobby, because then it kind of justifies spending a little more time on things and doing this, you know, because I love to do it and I do it, but it does take more time to document and to like start a tattoo shop. Yeah, I have. That's how I got into art. Was so this mural behind me, this is my wife and I's engagement picture, but that's exactly what I was doing when someone hired me in Bellingham to do some of my first murals on coffee stands. And then I got into snowboard designs, and then I got into skateboard designs, and then I started tattooing underground in a college town, and then I got legit, and then from there people wanted business cards and portraits of their animals. And so I've kind of just been an artist who picks things up from carving and sculpting to, I did set design with a sound reactive LED system for Sasquatch Festival in Washington. It's like 30 or 40,000 people, like kind of like a big Bonnaroo or Coachella style festival. I don't know, maybe it's 60,000 people now. I don't know how big the festival is. Too many people to count. But in any case, I've done a lot of just say, yep, I'll do it. And then I worked for 6 years at Trader Joe's doing their like chalk art signs and some of their like old timey looking woodcut like promotional stuff, and some of their logo-y stuff like limited edition symbols and stuff like that. So that's like my background of what I do in the real world, but also like wood carving and you know, working on making statues and like you name it, I've probably dabbled in it if it's an art. Maybe sell custom tank backgrounds. Yeah, I thought about that. I've thought about that. I've thought about doing hold on, I was just gonna show you guys some more art stuff while I'm jabbering, because we gotta end soon. I'm almost out of battery anyways. But I've thought about that. I've thought about doing I want to do, what I'd love to do is actual aquascaping, because if I had unlimited resources rather than like I'm trading and I'm making do with what I have. I also love maps and restoring old maps. But yeah, this is kind of my style of art. So like Peck Tech, like Sean, I have kind of a steampunk background in some of my stuff. This is all woodcuts that have been mounted on stuff. There's a Seattle one. So selling to the tourist trade, you know, whatever it takes to be an artist, you really have to be a hustler. As far as like how you're gonna make your money, like, okay, now I do this, like, oh, here's a seahorse here. Oh, someone wanted a portrait of their pit bull skull. Cool. You know, oh, now I'm doing I work at up near Mount Baker, which is a ski resort and stuff, and I'm doing mountain paintings. I'm in Washington. I'm in Seattle. And then, oh, the new Star Wars movie's coming out. Better get that license to do Zombie Boba Fett and Zombie Ewok. So I sell prints of that stuff. If you go to www.somainc.com, you can find some of that stuff, but it's kind of gone down. And then, like, I mean, I've been doing more graphic design and then busy with this, but I also have coloring books for adults that I did that were early work before a lot of coloring books for adults were out. But I have the psychedelic coloring book, which if you look through it, it's just like, oh, there's fish in it too. Like, these are all from my tattoo days, and they're pretty psychedelic, but pretty fun to color. A lot of octopi, cats, Greek ladies, puppies and kitties and Ganesh. So in any case, yeah, I've got just, you can check that stuff out. I'm on Amazon too if you look for the psychedelic coloring book or for whatever, through Alexander Williamson artwork. I'm around. You can find me. That was how I made money for a while. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any last questions? My phone's gonna die here, and if it does, preemptively sorry. But yeah, I want to talk in the future about like the oldest fish that you can buy as pets. Like arowanas happen to be like dinosaur fish, and like, you know, snails are an old variety, and like I just want to like pick subjects that are kind of cool, like you know, the dinosaurs living in your fish tank, and then talk about their evolution and how like they haven't evolved, or like they're perfectly evolved and they haven't had to change. And then like I want to do one on what's going extinct, and then one on how like dams have affected things. Dave, you too, man. I hope that we can sort out your pH issue. Don't freak out until something dies, but just keep an eye on it. This was an anti-ivory in India. This was done for a group. These are all Sumi brush and ink. This is when I was in Europe. I was in France and Italy. But yeah, so I mean, there's just, that's not what this channel's about. I'm just yammering on. But yeah, so I've got a lot of illustrative art. I'm gonna start doing more fish art. As some of my backer rewards for Patreon, people can get illustrations of their fish or a fish, or some of these are like all originals here. Like this is just a stack of like brush and ink stuff. Like here's a rainbow trout hanging out in a little pond, and then the top of it is an owl. So yeah, I mean, here's when I went to the catacombs and saw 8 million dead bodies, and we roamed around with some locals that showed us around. A little off the grid and a little bit scary. Here's a squirrel, and you know, I love the Northwest. I love where the water and the mountains meet each other, and all the greenery and like the surreal, the way light plays off of things. I'm also, I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm also an avid outdoorsman, so I tend to be a liberal dude, or independent, I suppose would be the word, or not quite libertarian, but I think you do you, I'll do me, and as long as we're not interrupting each other, that's good. But I think we should care for one another, educate the kids, and all that stuff. I don't want to get too political, but yeah, I tried to get my word out about the art I do, and like dogs and stuff that I've, like my Instagram page, which is just Alexander J. Williamson, is just my name on there. That has a bunch of stuff on it, some of this surreal stuff too, but I do want to get back into fish and do some more fish like this. Here's a crocodile, obviously. Some of this like pop art, fish and aquarium, shrimp related stuff. My wife's deceased dog, Zoe, and just, you know, I've done botanical illustrations and stuff like that. So just all stuff I do for a living, but I haven't really shared with you guys to any extent until now. Photography too. But yeah, so all right, I'm gonna call it a night, you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me and being a part of this channel and everything going on here. And just stay in the loop. Let me know what time works well, and I will try to post some links. I have an Instagram for this channel that I'm working on, but I couldn't use the same name. But let me know if there's subjects you want me to cover, and we'll get back into some nerdy videos rather than all these updates just to kind of establish like who I am as a channel. Let's get back to some of the like hardcore nerdy stuff for us fish fam folks. So, all right, guys. Well, you have a good night. You take care of yourselves, your fish. Love one another. Hold each other tight. And yeah, peace, love, and swim on. Talk to you later. Good night, guys.